NBA superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo is close to requesting a trade out of Milwaukee, and this could haunt the New York Knicks as they just used all of their assets to trade for Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns, and now there's a player who Leon Rose maybe could have acquired who's better than both of those two arguably put together, and we're going to talk about this and break this thing down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and guys, if you like what we're putting out, make sure to support the channel and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. But let's talk some basketball. As we know, the Milwaukee Bucks have been pretty terrible to start the season. You just saw they're 1-3 on the season. It seems like Giannis and Dame have never been able to build chemistry. Damian Lillard has been in and out of the roster with injuries. Chris Middleton has been out of the roster with injuries. And then Giannis has kind of been left there to pick up the pieces with a team that feels like a team that won an NBA Finals in 2021 and has done a lot to try to hold on to that hope. But a lot of their role players, like Middleton, who is arguably the second best player on that team, and Brook Lopez, who is a massive factor, are just not the same player anymore, and acquiring Damian Lillard led to a lack of defense in their backcourt that they've never solved, and now the Milwaukee Bucks are very close to having a situation where Giannis Antetokounmpo forces his way out, according to CBS Sports. Now, as they mentioned, there's a rising sense of confidence that if things go badly in Milwaukee, that Giannis could be available for a trade, and that would really force his way out of Milwaukee within the next year. I know off rip, this doesn't really sound like it has to do with the Knicks, and it sounds like I'm just making some video to try to connect him randomly to the Knicks for views. I'm not doing that, and I'm mentioning this now before I get comments saying I'm doing that. The New York Knicks made not one, but two blockbuster trades. There was two blockbuster trades this summer in the NBA, and the New York, or this off-season into preseason in the NBA, both of them involved the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks traded almost all their draft picks, all the draft capital they had stockpiled over the last few years with Bojan Bogdanovic to cash in on none other than Mikal Bridges to form the Nova Knicks, who they then broke up 2 months later, as then they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, trading Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a protected first-round pick for Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, that first will most likely become some second-round picks. It's a Detroit pick. Detroit's not going to cover that protection regardless, so it's going to turn into second-rounders eventually, which is something to note. But at the end of the day, the New York Knicks traded effectively all of their draft assets outside of all their trade assets outside of Mitchell Robinson for other players. Now, look, I think this is the best Knicks team they've had in my lifetime, in my 23 years of being alive since 2001. And frankly, I think the Knicks have a very good chance to win the NBA Finals this year. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is putting it together. Jalen Brunson's one of the best players in the NBA. I know there's one or two comments about his slow start. He's done this both other years with the Knicks. It's not something to really worry about. And then Mikal Bridges has also looked very good. But now, say the New York Knicks wanted to go form the best duo in the NBA in Jalen Brunson and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Well, now that situation's lost. And just to look into it, it could have a big ripple effect with the trade the Knicks made. Now, as mentioned, a third executive from an Eastern Conference team said that the Bucks, or that the GM has heard that Giannis's preferred trade destinations would be the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets, two teams that are rivals with the New York Knicks, and obviously one of them is in the same city as the New York Knicks. And look, I understand this sounds so stupid to make a video about. I get it. But the New York Knicks gave a lot of draft capital for Mikal Bridges. If the Nets want to acquire him, they're going to use that draft capital to get Giannis. I'm just saying. Now, look, this is what the New York Knicks traded for Mikal Bridges. They gave Bojan Bogdanovic, Shake Milton, Mamadi Diakite, who obviously is a superstar, so already a massive loss there. I'm obviously kidding. But then also on top of that, they gave a 2025 first-rounder, the Bucks 2025 first-rounder that now the Nets own and can dangle over Milwaukee. 2025 second-rounder that's initially from Brooklyn, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 first-round pick swap, a 2029 first-round pick, and a 2021 or a 2031 first-round pick from the Knicks. It's hard to imagine the Knicks are going to be some super team in 2031. So most likely that pick could be pretty bad, and the Knicks could be losing out to try to win an NBA title now, which would obviously be worth it. If you win an NBA Finals and then get thrusted into a rebuild where you don't have picks, guess what? You won an NBA Finals. You did the job. You can bounce back, especially Leon Rose has been so good at what he's done that you have to believe that the New York Knicks will find a way to bounce back. But this is a lot to give up for Mikal Bridges. It makes sense, though. He fits the Knicks so well, and we've seen that so far with Mikal Bridges, but It's Giannis, man. There's a world where they could have used these picks to go get Giannis. This season, Giannis Antetokounmpo looks as good as ever. He's putting up 29 points per game with 12 rebounds and 6 assists. He's shooting 62% from the field. The man is just one of the best players in basketball. And in case you're wondering what that cutoff thing is, it means his name. It's just talk about the way he previously spelled his name, which was Andetokounmbo. Just for anyone wondering, there's a little bit of fun trivia for you. But look, he turns the ball over a lot because his usage rate is so high. We all know how great of a basketball player Giannis Antetokounmpo is. None of us need to debate that. We know the guy's one of the best players in the NBA. He's a top 5 player, perennial MVP candidate, going to be starting in the All-Star game for whichever conference he's in for the next 5 to 6 years. The man has shown no signs of slowing down, and he's probably not going to slow down in the next few years. Giannis looks great. The Bucks look horrible. He spent a lot of good years with the Bucks and brought Milwaukee a championship. That man no longer has to be on the Bucks. He no longer owes them anything. He's won them an NBA Finals. He's done everything you could have asked for. He's the most points in Milwaukee Bucks history. He doesn't owe them anything. And the New York Knicks, well, they could have traded for him. They could have gotten him. Like, let's be real. Yes, the Thunder have the best chance to get him because they could throw 11 first-round picks, and I hope that doesn't happen because Bryson Atkins of Thunder Digest is going to be really annoying if that does happen. Yeah, Bryson, and you don't come on my show ever. But that's not the point. So, here's the deal, guys. I really think the Knicks could have gotten Giannis had they not traded for Mikal Bridges, and they probably still could have traded for Karl-Anthony Towns in the process, but you also can't look at things and be like, hey, well, the Knicks should have done this had they been able to read the future. The Knicks were never going to be able to tell if Giannis was going to be wanting out. And also, Leon Rose knows what he's doing. He knows if Giannis was going to ask out. He's not an idiot. Leon is well aware of what's going on in the NBA. He's very connected. William Wesley's very connected. If Giannis wanted out over the summer, then the Knicks would have figured out a way to bring Giannis to the Knicks. What the Knicks didn't want to do was wait around for a year and just burn a year, when instead they could acquire Mikal Bridges. They could acquire Karl-Anthony Towns. The two look phenomenal as a pairing in New York with Jalen Brunson. You still got great players around the team with OG Anunoby, with Deuce McBride, with Mitchell Robinson when he's back and healthy. Ariel Hukporti, the young rookie, looks like he could fill in for Mitch just fine. You obviously have Josh Hart, who is just one hell of a basketball player and the best role player in the NBA. So look, I think the Knicks can still win the NBA Finals with this team. I thought they've been able to win the NBA Finals. I think the Karl-Anthony Towns trade raised their ceiling and lowered their floor. There's just way more in either direction they could go in. But it was a good move overall. You can't sit around and wait for Giannis or wait for anyone in the NBA. That's not how teams win. Remember how long the Knicks sat around and waited for someone to become available that they could trade for? What never happened? They never traded for that guy. Whether it was Kyrie becoming available in 2017 and the Knicks and the Timberwolves and the Spurs being his preferred destinations, and one other team that wasn't the Boston Celtics were his preferred destinations, and he didn't go anywhere of those teams. And he really wanted to go to the Knicks more than anything, or to the Timberwolves. Neither one of those teams made a move for him. And then you keep going. You see other guys who just became Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving a few years later. What never happened? The Knicks didn't get them. The Brooklyn Nets got them. The Nets weren't waiting around for superstars to fall in their lap like the Knicks were. The Nets were out there rebuilding a team, and that's why they got Durant and Irving, because they looked like a competent franchise when the Knicks didn't. Who waits around for stars? Incompetent franchises wait around for stars. The Knicks didn't wait around for stars. They went and they got these two guys, on my other hand, these two guys right here, and it clearly has helped them become a better basketball team. I think waiting around for Giannis would have been a massive error, as good as Giannis is. Now, Leon Rose was exactly correct to go out there and not wait for these guys and acquire great stars today. And I'm talking about this now because people are going to think I'm saying by the start of this video that the Knicks should have waited around for stars. No, they should not have. What the New York Knicks went out and did was objectively the right move. Yes, specifically the Brooklyn Nets, if they acquire Giannis, is it going to be bittersweet that they used our draft picks to get Giannis? Yes. And then if they make some other moves, because they'd have to trade Claxton in the process, because Giannis and Claxton are an ugly fit, they could probably go out there and get DeAndre Ayton in some sort of 3-team trade, trading Claxton to the third team, some sort of contender that could use rim protection. And they could have some lineup. I was messing around with this on Fanspo Trade Machine the other night because I couldn't sleep. And I effectively made a team in the Nets that had a starting lineup of Dennis Schroeder, Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, Giannis and Ayton, or a team where you can do you could forget about DeAndre Ayton and you could do Cam Thomas, Dennis Schroeder still, and have Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Giannis at the 5. Here's the deal. No matter what team the Nets try to build around with Giannis or the Heat try to build around with Giannis, they're going to give up so much in the process where they're going to be gutted. They're going to have to bank on signing free agents to minimum deals that can play big roles with the team. We saw that when the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook. What happened? They signed a bunch of veterans, specifically Carmelo, who played well, but then they signed a bunch of other veterans like Wayne Ellington and Cameron Reddish and all of them. And guess what? They didn't play well at all, actually. I don't think Cameron Reddish was that year, now that I think about it. But they signed a bunch of older veteran players. All of them looked washed outside of Melo, who obviously in his own sense was not the same player, obviously, that he was in New York, but he actively looked good. He looked better than Westbrook did that year. And most of those veterans didn't work out. That's what the Nets would have to do if they acquired Giannis. They'd have to thrust themselves back into contention. And same thing with the Miami Heat. The Heat don't really have too many contracts to make that work. It's going to be very hard for them to pair Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Giannis together. It's not really clear if they can make that money work between Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. You're going to need more money to find elsewhere, so you're going to have to trade Terry Rozier also. There goes your entire stock of role players. Miami is a team that runs on role players, especially with scoring, given Giannis adds you scoring, but that team can't shoot a ball at all. They're going to have to find a ton of role players who can hit threes, and even still, you're going to need shot creation off the bench, and you're just going to need a plethora of things for free, basically, for low minimum deals so you don't become a second apron team. Any team that goes out there and trades for Giannis in the season is going to struggle. You need a long-term plan to trade for Giannis, and the only team with a long-term plan on how to do that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And everyone should be terrified of that because how good the Thunder are. The only reason I'm kind of upset the Knicks didn't end up having this all work out for them is if the Oklahoma City Thunder acquire Giannis. Frankly, on the matter of, that would suck for the rest of the NBA. Despite the fact that Shea and Giannis are a wonky fit, the Thunder would make it work because Mark Daigneault's a great coach. And I hate saying that because Bryson Adkins of Thunder Digest is going to have a great time messing with me about this video. But I'm just being honest, that's the problem. Also, the Warriors are going to try to find a way to trade for him and fail because they have no assets. But look, basically any Eastern Conference team that trades for him, given the Bucks will not want to trade him to the Eastern Conference, they'll do everything in their power to trade him west. Any team that tries to acquire him, they're going to have to jump through so many financial hoops and have to figure things out and lose all their role players in the process. Meanwhile, the Knicks traded guys where they lost one role player effectively in DiVincenzo, and the team still looks real good because they've been able to fill that gap in other places, specifically Deuce McBride, but also one of Landry Shamet or Matt Ryan, if not both of them, if they can make the money work. The Knicks are going to be just fine, and even if a team gets Giannis, it doesn't mean that team's going to become better than the Knicks. There's one team in the East better than the Knicks, and it's the Boston Celtics, who I fully believe the Knicks can beat on any given night or in any given playoff series. But guys, let me know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.